Alright, are we live? Is this it? Okay, we're live. Okay, my internet is not so hot, so we'll wait for a couple people to hop in. Alright, so we're live. Welcome to day one of One Up Coding. So, for the schedule, well, I'll be uploading these basically 2-hour long live streams on YouTube, as well as editing a couple lessons from this. So yeah, again, this YouTube live stream will cover a wide range of topics, and I'll end up cutting up these live streams into smaller, more comprehensive, and just better edited or edited at all lessons. So today we're mainly going to be focusing on what is coding, why do we want to code. I know you guys probably experience or see this kind of topic a lot, but it's pretty important to know why we do all this stuff. So let's get into it. And again, these live streams, like any YouTube video, feel free to hop in or out. The whole point of it being a live stream is so that during the live stream you can ask questions in the chat, and I'll be able to answer them at some point. Now the schedule for the live stream is basically every half hour, so at 10:30, and then at 11, and then 11:30 we're going to be having a break time, which is going to be like 10 minutes or so. That's just for me to, you know, drink some water, for you to go to the bathroom, for all of us to do anything that we need to in between. So I'll try my best to be strict on this time schedule, but you know, everything's new and stuff, and the schedule might change later on, and I'll be ready to update you on that as well. So day one, what is coding? What are we going to learn as well? So we're going to be coding in a language called Java. Now Java I have a little brother, and he likes to come in. He might come in sometimes. Just say hello, Jeremy.
Hello.
Alright, go back to your things. So yeah, we're going to be learning how to code basic programs in the Java language, and we're going to be applying those coding skills to beyond what is called the console, and I'll show you guys what the console looks like, and if you already have experience working with the console, I will show you how to go beyond just working in that little thingy, that console. And we're also going to be learning, you know, more about coding and computer science in general. And there is a difference between coding and computer science, if you didn't know. So why do we care? Yeah, it's not just for those who want to be engineers. Coding is something that is almost in every single modern profession. Some doctors, or many doctors, actually know how to code. All the researchers, they don't have to, but coding becomes just a very important skill, whether or not you want to make a website, whether you want to deal with a lot of data, whether you want to just make a program that is a visual aid for whatever you're working on. And again, yeah, it can be fun. Now, I'm not going to say it's fun for everyone, but it can be fun, it can be interesting. Once you get over the initial difficulty slope, eventually, yes, it'll become fun because you realize all the possibilities and all the things you can just do with coding. So let's keep going. What is coding and what is computer science? What is the difference really? Now coding, all it is it's a way to take in an input and produce an output. Very simple. It is the backbone of computer science. So yes, you need to know computer science before you need to know how to code before you can learn computer science. But you don't necessarily need to learn how to do computer science before you learn how to code. And again, coding is something that anyone can do. You see third graders, second graders being able to master several languages and maybe even getting a job just because they know how to code. And coding, yeah, it's a universal skill. Not almost everyone, but a lot of people should learn how to code because it's applicable to so many jobs. Now, computer science, it's something completely different. You take a real world problem, something that needs to be solved, and you design a solution using code to solve that problem. And not everyone can do it. Computer science is something that's super competitive because it's so difficult, and it's something that isn't just being able to code, it's being able to do something with your code, and not everyone will be interested in it. And yeah, that's why it's a profession. Coding isn't necessarily a profession, it's a good skill to know, but computer science is a profession. Let's keep going. How do you code? That's a pretty simple question. You're gonna use an IDE, and stands for Interactive Development Environment, and to simplify that, all it is a text editor. If you ever opened Notepad or even just Google Docs, those are all technically IDEs. Some IDEs are better than others because they have more tools. They help you with syntax. Syntax is just what is in your code to make it look simpler or to make it work. The little necessities here and there. Oh, my chair's breaking. That will help. Will help you code. And again, also you will need a development kit. So a development kit will come with every single language that you want to code in. So there is a Java development kit. You're going to have to download the development kit to work to code with it. But all the development kit does is it turns your code files into files that your computer can actually run. So that's all it is. There will be a website if you want to learn Python or Java or anything. There will just be a development kit for it, and then you just start coding. And we're going to be using an IDE or compiler called Codiva.io. And the reason I want to use this program is because you might not understand this now, but it allows for multiple classes to be used. It allows for your projects to be saved, and it helps you compile your code. Now, I didn't write it in the slide here, but what is compiling? Well, here, I might have it in the next slide. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, let's talk about this first. Why are we learning Java? Well, Java is a high-level language, which, in contrast to lower-level languages, is easier to understand by the human and easier to read in general. So higher-level languages are obviously closer to human speech, so you can read it relatively easily, while lower-level languages, for example, something like C or even C++, those are closer to computer speech. You'll see a lot more symbols like the equals and plus and minus signs and the semicolons and colons. You'll see a lot more of those, and it's closer to math, whereas the higher level languages, you're going to see a lot more words, a lot more things that you can comprehend the first time you read it. And because lower languages are closer to how the computer talks, it's closer to the math that the computer does, they usually run faster. But Java is a low enough level language, but still low enough language to run decently fast, while being able to be easily read. And also higher level languages, because they're easier to read, they're usually easier to learn. They sound more logical, and that allows us to have a higher range of possibilities. And so again, a compiler, what is that? All it is it turns these high and low level languages, and it turns them into pure computer speak, and that's called assembly line code or assembly code. It's the binary, it's the zeros and ones that your computer can actually read and do something with. Your computer can't just read the letters and symbols by themselves and be able to do something with them. Yeah, the compiler just turns your code into a bunch of zeros and ones for your computer to read. So some languages actually don't require a compiler because it's built in, but something like Java, you have to compile it first before you run it. And there's you don't have to do that manually. Don't worry. There's always a program that will help you do that. So let me check time. Okay. What is the point of code? What does it do? Why do we learn how to code instead of just making like scratch programs or something like that? Well, coding, it takes in an input, right? And we store this input in a thing called a variable. You could think of a variable as like just a container or a box that's meant to hold certain things. And variable, essentially to your computer, they're pieces of memory that we can store stuff in. And we can access those variables later using a name we give to the variable. And the whole point of code is to take whatever input you want. Let's say we have a bunch of grades. Our output that we would desire would be our GPA. How do you calculate your GPA? And so you can use code to take in all of those variables that have your grades in them and output your GPA. And that completes the program. So how do we use variables, and what are the different kinds of variables? Well, how can you represent data? Well, there's numbers. You can represent them by you can represent your grades by numbers, by like 90s or 50s or 70s. All these different integers, right? There's characters, an A, a B, a C, a X, Y, Z. There's also symbols, the space bar, there's the percent sign and the exclamation sign. You can represent data in floats. Now, a float is just an integer with a decimal. So 12.41 blah 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 blah, 5.43 blah blah blah, 3.1415925. All those floats, they stand for floating point variable, and floating point is just whatever comes after the decimal. So that's a little way to remember it, I guess. But if you want to be more accurate than just using integers, you would use floats. And there's actually another number type variable called a double, and that can hold basically double the amount of digits as the float. But that's only if you're doing something really precise, and we don't really have to work with that right now. We're not gonna be dealing with how to calculate the distance between us and a star or something. We're gonna be dealing with simple integers that can only hold a number and not a decimal, and floats that can hold a decent number of decimals. So how else can we represent data? We can represent it in strings. And sometimes when you ask yourself, what are the different types of ways you can represent data, it's really just asking yourself, what are the different types of ways we can answer a question? You can answer with a number. What is 5 plus 2? That is 7. What is your grade? Right now, you have an A. What is 3 times 2.7? And you can answer with a float. But what is your favorite food? You can represent that using a string. And a string is just a bunch of characters stringed together. That's why it's called a string. So strings are, my favorite food is a cake. My name is Luke. The name of this program is 1UP. And another data type that's very important and sometimes overlooked is how else can you answer a question? Well, what if they just ask you a yes or no question? Yes and no are strings, they're words, right? And a string is just a word, a phrase, or sentence. But a yes or no question, you can only answer yes or no. And so if someone asks you, do you like cake? Then you can answer yes or you can answer no. And so we represent yeses and nos with a thing called a Boolean. So yeah, there's a scientist named Boolean whatever, and he worked a lot with yeses and nos. So that's why we we call true and false Booleans. So if someone ever says this variable is of type Boolean, all they're saying is that variable is either true or false. And so in the future, we're going to be learning about more complex data types, something that can't be described with one piece of data. And but that's for later. First, you have to get down the simple variables first. So again, I don't know if you can see the whiteboard behind me very well, but let's say a way you can represent variables, or basically just something to store data with, And if you've done math and algebra, simple algebra, a variable is just a number, right? X equals 2. All we're saying, you can't see that very well, can you? I'll work on fixing that in the future. But all you're saying is your name, the name of your variable x has the value of 2 in it. Now in our code, we're going to be moving variables around a lot, and we're going to be changing the values a lot. So we're going to give them a name that represents what they are. And so there are two parts to a variable. The type of data they can include, right? What they have inside of them. They have an integer and the name of the variable. So in the next slide, this is how we're going to use variables in our IDE. Now, this is a lot, right? I'm throwing, what is this? What is this? What are these? Why do you have the why do you have the brackets? And this is yeah, okay. What are classes? What does public mean? What does static mean? Why do we have void and main and string arguments? What does it all mean? In order to answer all those questions, we first have to learn how code in Java as a whole works. But don't worry, just focus on trying to practice type these things. Try to practice typing these things for now, and because they'll be used in basically every single Java program. And so let's look at time. Okay, yeah. Now let's hop into. Actually, okay. Yeah. For now, just let's go over these topics, right? Let's stay away from the code for now. Let's try not to overwhelm ourselves. Let's just think. Let's review the topics. So we will be learning Java. It's a coding language that's used to solve computer science problems. It's a high-level language, which means it's easier for you to read. Coding is the backbone of computer science, and it's necessary. It's a necessary skill in almost all modern jobs. Coding takes in inputs and yields outputs. So it takes something in and spits something out. And we do this by taking in things, putting them in variables, doing something with those variables, and then spitting whatever was in those variables out again. And these variables have different data types. They can be represented with integers, numbers basically, strings, characters, booleans, and more complex data types that we will learn in the future. And we will be getting into the fun stuff very soon. So yeah, I'm sorry this was a very boring day, but again, coding is a long, sad, slow process, and it takes a little getting used to. So I'm gonna check. Alright. Okay, I am lagging behind a lot. I'm sorry, my internet is very poor. We're running on a low budget, so if the stream lags a lot, I'm very sorry. I will try my best. But yeah, I have no control over that. So we ended like 10 minutes early. That's okay. I guess I'll wait for the stream to catch up, and you guys can ask any questions you want. That was day 1. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Don't worry, the stream isn't over yet. That's just for next time. Hey, buddy. Oh, my brother's so cute. Okay. Yeah, there will be these long, awkward silences in the stream, but when I edit the videos, I'll get rid of these basically. Oh man.
Spray paint? Like, is this spray paint? Is this spray paint?
No. Can you put that away?
What is it? Like eraser stuff?
Yeah. Alright, so yeah, I'll wait and see if you guys have any questions.
This is called dry erase.
Nice. Alright. Let's look over my slides again. Yeah, okay. So I guess, why not? We're going to start with day 2 curriculum. I do not have it open. Okay. Come on, buddy. Sweet. Okay. We're going to be starting the second lesson. So if you're in the live stream, get ready. And we'll be taking a break at in like 7 minutes, so don't worry. Okay, so welcome again to another one-up coding video. Today we're going to be learning about coding basics. So again, let's go over a review again on what I showed you last time. So I showed you guys the basic coding structure, and I also showed you guys the IDE we're going to be using. And another reason I forgot to mention last time we're going to be using this IDE is because you can find it online. So it's called Codiva.io, and oh no, it's not. Codiva. Okay, Codiva.io. Okay, so yeah, Codiva.io. And another reason I'm picking this is because it's a compiler that runs online. So that means you can go to it on any computer you want, and it'll be open for you. So let's all just create an account real quick. So I'm going to use our email and our password. Hopefully you guys can't see this. Hopefully I didn't type it wrong as well. So yeah, we're going to create a free account. You can use whatever email you want. You can actually use your school email you want. And once you're done with that, I'll give you guys some time to do that. We're going to create a new project. So our project, yeah, it's just, it stores our code. It stores everything we want to use in our code. So yeah, our project name, let's just call it coding basics. You guys can name it whatever you want. It doesn't matter in this case. So we're gonna name this one variables, and a class and a file. So each class and each file you have in your project is just it's each new file, and each new file can have different things inside of it, and I'll show you guys later how you really put those together, how you put those classes and how all those files together. But for now, let's just make one or make our first class. This is your first code, so you don't have to worry about the directory part. Let's get into it. So yeah, we have a class variable here, and every compiler or IDE that's meant for Java will give you this little template here. We can delete this line right here. If you're following alongside me, then you can do the things that I'm doing. So yeah, our class. So class, it means it's one piece of our code. It's just one part of our code that we're gonna work with, and we're just I'll explain class more later on. But for now, let's get through it first. So main, public static void main. A main, this is called the main function. And what is a function? It's something that does something. It's something that has a function. It's something that usually takes inputs, our string of arguments. These inputs go in these parentheses, and it returns something. So in our main function, we're gonna define variables. And if you remember last time, yes, for a little review, variables are little pieces of data that store stuff, right? You can store stuff in different ways. You can create a variable that holds a string value, and it has I'm gonna call this variable my name, and that variable is going to equal Luke. Now, to separate strings, you have to use the quotation marks, because that Otherwise, it'll think Luke is like the name of another variable. So, yeah, that this little structure is used for every single time you're gonna declare a variable. You're gonna say what type of data you want it to store. Then you're gonna say the name of it. Now it doesn't have to be my name. You can title your variable chickens. And this little variable name is how you're going to access this variable later on. It's like the address. How you don't have to move the house around every time. You just have to give people different addresses so that they can go to that address themselves. So our variable name, that is what am I doing? Yeah, let's just define some simple variables. So my name. Now the thing is, the variable, it cannot have spaces in it. Why? Because then it'll each space tells your code that it's doing something new. And so if you have a space here, it's gonna mix it up and think that this is a data type, or this is like something that affects it. So make sure you keep all your variables within one name. And also your variable name, if in order, okay, flipping out. So Java programs, in order to take multiple words and put it into one variable name, people do it in different ways. Some people, mostly Java programmers, what they'll do is they'll type the first word in all lowercase, then the first letter of the second word, and every word after will have the first letter capitalized. And there's different ways to do it. It doesn't really matter. You could have an underscore and say my name, and this works just as well. It's just personal preference. And so we're going to assign that. You can type in your name. And at the end of every line that does something, or every declaration, we have to add a semicolon. Why? Because here's how your compiler works. If you remember me talking about compilers in the previous video, all the compiler does is it turns your code into assembly line code. It turns it into computer speak, a bunch of zeros and ones. Now the thing is, I could, and this is what most compilers do, I could just take out every single enter in space, and the code would actually run fine. Now don't do this. This is just for example. I could take out every single space, and this code works just as well. And the reason is because when your compiler runs through the code, it's taking it skips all the blank spaces, or the enters, or the returns, or the white spaces, and it just compacts everything together. Now it actually keeps the spaces. It doesn't keep the returns or the enter buttons. And so the reason we have to add the semicolon is now this little chunk here that I've highlighted will be separated from another line of code. Let's say we want to name another variable. Let's call it integer, right? And when because coders are really lazy and we don't like typing a lot of things, sometimes we abbreviate things. And so yeah, we abbreviate integer to just int. So and when you're naming the data type, string has to be capitalized. The first letter has to be capitalized, while integer has to be lowercase, all lowercase. So we're gonna type in my age, and that equals 3. My age is 3 right now. And if we didn't have any of these semicolons, then when your compiler runs through the code, it'll go to through here, and it'll immediately go to this line, and it'll mix the lines. It'll mix them up so that the code is read as this, and that confuses your compiler a lot. So that's why you have to add the semicolons to show that these are completely separate. I'm sorry if I'm if I'm speaking fast, or if I'm going through the lessons kind of messily and stuff. This is new for me. This is new for all of us. So bear with me, please. Okay. So yeah, again, all I'm doing is declaring variables. And the reason is I'm going to use these variables later on. And a variable, all it is, it's a data type, right? What's going to be held inside of this variable is a string, the name of this, so I can reference it later on or use it later on, and then the data that goes inside. So yeah, let's keep going. So yeah, this is the standard way of declaring any variable. Now the if value part, or like, now the equals value part, you can actually get rid of this and just end it with the semicolon. And what this does is it initializes the variable without a value. Here, let me show you what that looks like. Let's say I don't know what my name is yet, and what if I want to use my name later on? Well, we can simply say string my name. Now that creates an empty container, right? An empty variable that has to have a string that goes inside of it, and I can use that later on. Now if I use this variable later on and I give it a value later, I don't have to declare the data type again. I don't have to write string again. Let's say, yeah, in the code I found out my name later. I found out that my name is actually Luke. Before it was empty, now it has a value. And if it doesn't ever have a value and you try to use it, the value is called null. Null, if you read anything, it's basically nothing. It's not zero, it's the absence of something. Zero even has a value, it's zero. But null means it doesn't have something. Now what if I try to change my name to a number, like 5 or something? Then it would glitch out. It would say, hey, you want it to be a string, but you're giving me a number. And it actually gives me an error here. Reading errors is a key part of coding because they will tell you a lot of information. So let's change this back. Now, why would you want to do it like this? Why would you want to do it like this? Well, what if you want to simply, create an empty container and fill it later on with something you don't know yet? Then you can do it in this format. But if you want to, if you know what you want the value to be, like immediately, you know your name is Luke already, or your name is whatever your name is, then you would simply assign it here. You would say in one line, I'm creating a variable that has to have a string in it, and what I want inside of that variable is to be Luke. So, yes, what time is it? Okay, oh man, I missed break time. Alright, so I'm gonna give you guys, like 10 minutes of break time. That means we'll be back around 10:45. I will see y'all until then, and take a rest. I need a rest. Oh jeez, this is going great. I'll see y'all very soon.
I'm back again.
Yes. Okay, and we're back. See, I don't like the way we did that one. I think I'm gonna restart that one because I don't like the pace of it and stuff. I don't know. Should I restart it? What do you guys think? I think I went too fast. I think I should take it slower. Okay. Is there an online whiteboard? Is there any way I can make this just better? Easier to see? Any way I can fix the lighting? I don't know. Maybe I'll work on that next stream. Okay. So I think I'm gonna restart that video because I don't like the pace I went. Okay, that means I'm going to delete this. Yeah. Huh. I think I'm also here. I don't know if I like my slides anymore. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that. That's too complicated. All right. Okay. Welcome to day 2 of one-up coding. So today we're going to be going over coding basics, and we're also going to review what we learned from last time. So yeah, we talked about variables, and if you think about variables, it's a container, and that container has 2 labels, one of which says what's supposed to be inside, and the other is just the name of the container. And so how do we use that in code? Well, we have this is the meat of the code, basically. Yeah, this is the meat of the code that we're going to be editing. And let's check out, I talked about an IDE last time, and which one we're going to be using. We're going to be using an IDE called Codiva. I have it open already. I'm going to close it. Codiva.io. And the reason we're going to be using this is because it can run online. Now, you might not have an account already, so go ahead and create an account. But I already have an account, so I'm going to sign in. It's really easy. You can use any email you want. You can even use a school email. So I'm going to type in my email and password. And so yeah, this is our text editor, what we're going to be using to code with. And we're going to create a new project. Let's call it tutorial. And a project is just your code. It's what you're going to use to solve a problem, or to take an input and produce an output. And we're going to create a file. So a file is just a part of your code that does something. And that's what a class is. It's the class is also known as the file, and it's just a piece of your code. So let's call this tutorial.java. Now you might, when you're looking through your computer's files, you'll see .txt, .png. That's just the type of file you're going to be using. Now, you might think, oh, isn't coding just txt, right? It's just a text file. But in order to use it as a Java file, we just call it .java. And there you go. So don't worry about directory. It'll create it by itself. So now we have our tutorial class, or tutorial code. And the public main function, this is called a function. This is the name of the function. Now what the main function does is it's the first thing that runs when you run your program. So let's go back here. We're gonna copy and paste this code. So you can write this in yourself. Actually, here. Let's write this in ourselves. You can get rid of this. I will go over what this exact thing does later. So let's create a variable, or basically a container. So the container has what you're going to be putting inside of it, a string, right? In my case, the name of your container. Now it could be any name you want. You can have it be, chicken nuggets, as long as it's one word. That's the only requirement. It has to be in one word. So I'm going to title it my name. And because my name is 2 words, I can combine them by making the second word, the first letter of the second word, uppercase. So, and we're going to give it a value. Now, how do you do that? You simply put an equal sign and the value you want. My name is Luke. And now you're going to end that with a semicolon. A semicolon just means it's the end of this line. I don't want to add anything more to this line. Now, what if you want to change your name later? What if you had a sudden, life crisis and you wanted to change your name all of a sudden? So you can do that by simply saying the name of your variable. In my case, it's my name. It could be chicken nugget. And then all I'm going to do is put an equal sign again, and then the name, my new name. My new name is Bob. All this does is it takes Luke, throws it out of the container, and it gets the new name, Bob, and puts it inside of the container. And we can also create an integer variable. Now, because coders are really lazy and we don't like typing a lot, we abbreviate some things. So we don't want to write integer all out. We can simply write int, and everyone that's a coder will know what this means. So int means our variable is going to have a number inside. So my age, your age is a number. And you're going to have an equal sign and then the number you want. Right now I'm 6 years old. Okay. Now, okay. Okay, don't be too loud. Okay. Alright. Okay. Whispering doesn't help. Alright, see ya, buddy. Okay, so yeah. Again, one more thing, the class tutorial, all that is the name of the file. So if you name your file, chickennuggets.java, you can tell I'm really hungry, then you'll name your class chicken nuggets here. Okay, so yeah, in the slides, this is how you're gonna declare a variable. So you're gonna have your data type, right? What type of thing you want to put inside your variable, your container, the name of your container or the name of your variable, and then equal sign, which means you're gonna put this value inside of this variable, and then the value, as well as a semicolon. And the semicolon just means I'm done. This is the end of the line. I don't want to add anything else to this. So if you want to edit it later, you do not need to include the data type again. All you have to use is use the variable name, because you already the variable already knows what data type it has. Okay, so what if we want to add things together? Well, in this code, we have our class, right? Don't worry about public. We have a class variable. That means the name of the file that this code is in is variables.java. The main function, which means this is the first thing will happen when your code is run. Integer, we're going to create an integer, my age, that will have a value of 5, an integer titled years. And then we're going to create a new variable that will be the sum of the other two variables. So all we have to do then is say integer age after 3 years. You don't have to name this something super long. And usually coders try to make their variable names really short, so you don't have to type it very often. And then you're going to set it equal to my age, which is 5, and then years, which is 3. Now why don't you just put 5 plus 3 here? And this does give you 8. Well, what if we don't know our age yet, or we don't know our years yet? We want to store things in these variables so that we can use them easily later. And so this will give us 8, because my age is 5 and years is 3. So now let's make a little coding example. I'm gonna get rid of my name stuff. Int years. Let's say that's 5. Now what if we changed our years, the number of years we want to say, to a different number? So let's say the number is 2 as well. So that means that if I wanted to create a variable that would be the sum of my age after years. If I want it to equal my age plus years, this value will equal 8 because it's 2 plus 6. And the reason it's not 5 plus 6 is because when we said this, we got rid of this 5 value. So we basically took away 5 and we put 2 inside that container. And so you want to keep track of how you're changing your variables. What if you want to make sure that you don't change it accidentally or something. So yeah, my age after how many number of years I want will equal the sum of those two. Sorry if I'm going quick. If you have any questions after this, feel free to ask it in the chat, or go to the Google Classroom, or go to my email and ask me there, and I'll try my best to help you. So what if we want to add strings? Now, strings are funny because if you add them together, it doesn't add the values together, obviously. It just puts them right next to each other. So you'd have 5, and then you have 3. Sorry, my nose is itchy. I have allergies. Oh my. That means when you create a string that is the sum of those two, it actually says just 5, 3. So if you can change all these to strings, my age is 5, and then my age is 3. That means when I sum them together, this value is going to be 5, 3. It just puts those two strings together. So if you ever want to add strings together instead of just adding numbers, this is the way to do it. You just use the plus button, or the plus symbol. Okay, so assignment operators. Now that sounds like crazy, right? What is an assignment operator? These assignment operators are really just ways to change your variable. So if you have an integer, right? What if you don't want to add two variables together? All you want to say is you have an integer, my age, which is 5, right? What if I want to change my age so that it's equal to itself, which is 5, plus another number? Well, you could say integer, or my age equals my age plus 10, right? So it takes your age, which is 5, adds 10 to it, and then stores that into my age. Now what is my age here? After doing all this, it's 15, because it takes 5, adds 10 to it, and then puts it back into itself. Now because we're going to be changing numbers a lot, coders actually made a simpler way to do this. Instead of making it equal to itself plus 10, you can say plus equals 10. All the plus equals 10 does is it adds 10 to my age, and then puts it into my age variable. So after I use this, my age here will be 15 after this line of code, line 5. So you can also do minus equals, which subtracts 10. You can do times equals. You can do what are other ways? Divide equals, or you can do other weird math functions. Yeah, there's a math function. It's called modulus equals, or modulus. So modulus, it sounds crazy. It's like some weird math term. It's the remainder. So 7 modulus 2 is 7 divided by 2, and the remainder of that. So 7 divided by 2 has a remainder of 1. 4 modulus 3 will have a value of 1, and 4 modulus 2 has a value of 0. Now why would you ever use modulus, right? It feels weird to ever use a remainder. Well, if you want to check that a number is even, an even number, you can say modulus 2 and then find the remainder. And the remainder will be 0 if for any even number, because the remainder of dividing any even number by 2 is 0. All right. So those are assignment operators, ways to change your integer variables or float variables by certain amounts. So let's go into the console. What is the console? It's a way for you, as the coder, to communicate with your computer. And it's used in basically every single coding language. It's essential, really. And how do you use the console? If you've seen in my previous coding examples, you'll see that I've said system.out.println and parentheses and semicolon and something inside here. You see me use that a lot. Now why? It's because what this function does is if you write it all out, it'll print out whatever's inside these parentheses, whatever you put inside. So if you put a variable inside, it'll print whatever's inside that variable or inside that container. Now what do I mean by print? It just the computer actually types it out into the console for you. And so where is the console? Where is it? Well, let's try running this program. Run. The console, whenever you run a program, it'll be shown to you somewhere. Right here, it has console here. Completed with exit code 0. All this means is it worked. Alright, it didn't have any errors. So what if we want to say something in this console? Well, then all we have to do is type out again system.out.println, and then we put in, like, let's say we want to put in Luke. Then we can put a string in there, and a semicolon means that's it. Let's stop it here. Writing all that out prints the word Luke, and you'll see, hey, it said my name. Isn't that crazy? And you could put your name or any name. You can actually also put integers, right? Let's print out 5. And it's kind of in the corner of the screen, but it did print out 5. Okay, maybe you see it better. Okay. Now what if we want to print out what's ever inside the container or the variable, my age? Well, we say my age. Let's print out my age. And it's 5. And yeah, this modulus thing, because my age divided by 10 has no, the remainder, it can't divide by 10, the remainder is just 5. Now, why would you want to print something to the console? Well, let's say let's just pretend we don't know what modulus does, and we're trying to figure it out. Then you could test it. You can print out what is in my age, and we'll always see what's inside my age. So yeah, it's a way for us to speak to our computer and for our computer to speak back to us. So yes, it's to read off my slides. It's a function used to print things to the console and allows you to test whether or not your code is working. If let's say yeah, you want it to print out the number 5, and you're doing all this math and stuff, and you print it out to the console and it doesn't print out 5. Now you know your code isn't working. Then you can go back and see how you can fix things in order for it to print out 5. And you can actually do math inside of it. You say 5 plus 3 and it'll print out 8. If you say hello plus world in 2 different strings, it'll print out hello world. And yes, it could also take in variables as inputs. All you have to do is put in the variable name. Now you have to be super careful, because sometimes if you don't include quotation marks around what you want to say, and it's not a variable, your computer will read it as a variable, and it'll read it as a variable that doesn't exist, something you didn't make yet. So you have to make sure when you're printing out a string that you have quotation marks in there. Wow, time flies. We're gonna take a quick break before we move on with this lesson. So in this break, I'm gonna answer some of your questions. All right, no questions. That's okay. Oh yes, I can see that my stream count is diminishing. My watching count. I don't mind. It'll be probably be better for you to watch these videos later on in a more comprehensive and less fumbly sort of way.
Look, I said hi.
Okay, Jeremy. Okay. So, yeah, that's fine if I only have a couple viewers. Doesn't hurt me. Yeah, no.
I didn't subscribe to it if I'm not subscribed.
Okay, Jeremy. Yeah, again, that's my little brother. He's super cute. So yeah, I'm gonna take like another 10-minute break. We'll start again at 11:15. Again, if I'm moving too fast, please tell me. I'm trying my best to improve on myself.
I have a YouTube channel. And you should watch it.
Jeremy, come on. I told you. Please, can you not ask questions right now? All right, yeah. So yeah, yeah. I need feedback as much as possible. This is my first time doing this, and I'm gonna need your help improving. So, yeah, we're gonna be coming back at 11:15. Have fun. Take a break. Go to the bathroom if you need to. Okay, you guys, wow. So obviously I should check the audio to make sure it's working. I should check the chat more often because I ran the entire lesson without audio on. That just, wow, guys, I am a complete noob at this. All right. Okay, I don't want to rush it. So, I don't even know where I left off. I left off at system.out.println. Okay, we're gonna make it back. All right, I got this. All right, I am so sorry, audience. So, last I'm gonna start over. Okay, last we left off. I'm sorry, I was blocking the screen, the output with my face. So I'm going to show you guys the output again. So I don't have it on me, so I'm just gonna print it out here. We can print out a string, right, Luke, and so it'll print it to the console. And the reason you have all these consoles is it creates a new console every time you run the program. So let's close all of these. What if you want to print a number? You could put it inside the string, but you could also just print out the number and it'll be fine. It prints out 5. You can print out a variable. Let's say we want to create an integer, my age equals 5. Then we could print out my age, and all it does is this print function, or print ln. I'll explain the difference between the two. Print my age. It'll take the value inside this variable, which is 5, inside this container. It shows it to the console, right? It prints it to the console, and then it puts it back inside the container. So it doesn't change the variable. So yes, system.out.println. It could take strings, it could take integers, and it's really just a way for the programmer to speak back and forth with the computer. You can do addition or multiplication inside, it doesn't matter. You can put integers inside, and you could also manage with variables. So now if you remember this example from the beginning of the video, it has a file named variables.java. It has a main function, which is just the first thing that runs. It has 2 variables, one that's called my name, and it has a string that says Luke, one that has another variable called my age, it has an integer that's 5, and I print these 2 out. So now we're going to learn about escape sequences. Now what is escape sequences? Coders love to name these fancy terms, but really they're very simple. What if you want to type in an enter, a tab, a backspace, or some special character? Well, you can just press tab to type the tab button, but there's a special way to do it. It's called an escape sequence. So, oh man, I feel like cutting the silent part out of the live stream. So what if we want to type out hello on one line and then world on the next line? Well, we can type in \n and then world. What this does is, as your println function is going through the string, if it sees a backslash, it'll take the next character right after. Not right now, Jeremy. Okay, so it takes the character right after the backslash and it does something special. So \n, it prints a new line, and new line, all that means is it prints an enter button. And better than me explaining, I could just show you what it looks like. So without my face in the way, you can see hello prints in one line. It presses enter by saying \n, and then it prints out world. So what if you want to type in a tab? Well, you could do \t, and it only takes the character right after it, so you don't have to worry about what comes after the backslash. But what if you want to type in a backslash? Because wouldn't typing a backslash trigger some random escape sequence? So you could type in. So the solution to that is typing in 2 backslashes. That prints a backslash. That prints only 1 backslash. So you have to be careful. If you want to type 5 backslashes, you're actually going to include 10 backslashes in when you type it here, because half of them will just be used to, you know, type out the backslash. So that brings me to the point. What is the difference between print system.println and system.print? System.println, all it stands for is print line new, which means it's going to print the line on a new line. All that means is after this, it's basically println is basically print system.out.print with a backslash n at the end. Now, why is this useful? Well, let me show you. Let's print this out 3 times. With system.out.println, it includes a new line after. It presses enter after every hello world. What if we did not include that? What if we just said system.out.print in all of these? Then it connects them right after each other. It never presses enter. And so this is really hard for us to read. And we want to make sure we include ln so that we can actually read this. Now I don't need those anymore, so I'm just keep moving. So let's review. I'm sorry if I went over this quickly. I made an editing mistake the first time where I did not include audio, so I had to redo it in a short amount of time. So yeah, let's review. A variable again, it's just a container with a data type and a name and a value. So if the way we declare it is we say the data type first, we say what's the value gonna be like, then we say the variable name, and then we say equal sign and the value that we want to put inside of it. So the equal sign, all it does is it takes this value and puts it inside of the variable name. We talked about the console. It's how we communicate back and forth with the computer. We talked about how you can add variables. If you add integers, it adds the value. 5 plus 3 is 8. If you add strings, it adds them right after each other. 5 plus 3 is 53. Now, system.out.println or system.out.print is the way is the main way Java programmers can communicate with their console and back, and vice versa. Escape sequences sound complicated, but really they're just for us to print out special characters, such as the enter, tab, backspace, or slash key. So, yes. Now, I'm not going to leave you guys yet. I have some example problems. You can pause the video now. If you watch the silent part, you'll have a little hint to how to answer these problems. But, yeah. These are some example problems. So you're going to use variables to add the numbers 5 and 6 so that the answer is 56. You're going to print a rectangle of any symbol or character you want using the console with a width 4 and a height 3. And you can only use one system.out.print statement. So go ahead and pause the video now, and when you come back, I'll be doing the problems. Okay, let's do these problems. Okay, again, I don't have these answers prepared beforehand, so you guys are gonna solve me solve them real time. So now you can add, you can create integers. 5 equals 5, integers 6 equals 6, and you can add these however you want. Get a sum that equals 56. But the easier way to do it is to simply make them all strings instead. If you remember, strings are just a bunch of characters. Now they can be one character if you want to. Now the thing is, when you add strings, it doesn't take the integers inside them and add them together. All it does is it puts them one after another. So 5 plus 6 in this case becomes 56. And to check that this is working, let's print that out to the console. let's print our sum. Now let's see if it's working. Am I lagging? Oh, okay, there it is. 56. I was lagging for a second there. 56. So that's how you do the problem. Pretty simple. And if it's not simple, or you couldn't solve it at first, that's almost 100% because I explained it horribly and too quickly. So you can pause the video and rewatch the parts I went over this on, or you can ask me a question on Classroom, on Gmail, or on YouTube chat, and I will hopefully answer it there. I'm gonna check the chat now, see if there are any questions. Okay, no questions, just me reminding myself how I failed. Okay, let's print a rectangle of, let's use, what character do you guys want to use? I'm gonna use star, which is Shift 8, because I don't know, it looks cool. So we can only use system.out.print or println, doesn't matter in this case, only once. So how do you do that? Well, if you remember escape sequences, we could type the enter button without typing out system.out.println again. So let's print out a width of 4 stars. We're gonna print it out again, and then again, and that way we'll have printed 3 rows of 4 stars. And let's see if this works. Oh, I got an error. Okay, so whenever you get an error, you have to figure out what the error is. And I forgot a semicolon. Whoa, I forgot a semicolon. Okay, let's try this again. There you go. A rectangle with width of 4 and height of 3. So that's the rest. I'm gonna spend that's basically the video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay, stream isn't over yet. I'll basically have the rest of this time until 12 p.m. for you guys to ask questions and to give feedback. Yeah. Tell me if you like the format, if you like me doing these like silly, messy, like horrible you know, live streams where I just try my best and create little snippets of lessons inside of them and basically upload those snippets later on in a new lesson video. Or would you guys just have me practice at home making these lesson videos and then just uploading those instead of these live streams? I don't know. I kind of like the live streams because you guys get to see how human I am. Also, yeah, you guys can give me feedback live. I realized I have to check the chat more because I'm very flawed. And also, you guys can tell me how my pace is going, because if I made these videos individually without you guys being able to see them live, you guys wouldn't be able to tell me that, hey, you're going too fast, hey, you're speaking not clearly enough. If I'm not speaking clearly, definitely tell me, because that's something that we all have to work on. Even I do. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, again, if you need more explanation, what is a variable? What is system.out.println? What is the main function? What is a class? I went over those briefly. I went over in variables a lot, but I went over most of those very briefly. So if I went over them too quick, please tell me. And yeah, I'll basically be here. We can take another break, or actually no, the break will just be the end. So yeah, if you guys, if the 5 or the couple of you that stayed the entire stream, or are gonna, or might stay the entire stream, wow, I appreciate you guys a lot. I feel sorry for you that you waited 2 hours and watched 2 hours. Like, you saw 20 minutes of me just being completely silent and waving my arms around and saying random stuff. I'm sorry you had to watch that. I'm sorry you had to watch this sad first live stream. But yeah, I appreciate you guys a lot. So yeah, any feedback. If you want to tell me that my videos suck and I should have never done this, go ahead and tell me. I'll be okay. That's what I'm here for. Yeah. Basically, I'm gonna show you guys the rocket ship again, and if you have questions, I'll pop up again and answer them. Thank you guys so much. If I don't have any questions, if there are no questions that come up, then basically the stream's over. And yeah, thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you guys next time. Yeah, ask questions in the chat.